Welcome friends, good afternoon. So this tutorial is for PSM-1 preparation tips and tricks. PSM level 1 basically stands for Professional Scrum Master Certification level 1. So in this particular tutorial I would like to highlight 5 points as below. What is a Scrum, where it is used, who can appear for this certification, preparation tips, and how to register for this certification. So friends, good news is I availed the certifications couple of months back, and if you also search with your name, once you completed the certifications successfully, you will be able to view your profile here, mentioning the fact that you have earned the certification. And here I would like to share some my experience, tips and tricks which I try to achieve throughout my preparations. And if you like this video, I can go in details about the Scrum methodology and all, but in this particular tutorial I will not go into details of what is Scrum and all. I will just explain you whatever the tips and tricks which I found helpful during my preparation. So let's come to what is Scrum. So the Professional Scrum Master Level 1 is an online low-cost lifetime certification provided by the scrum.org. Scrum basically is a process framework where a user can incorporate the process or technique to develop complex sustainable product. So basically Scrum is not a methodology or technique or definitive methods which is something defined or set of rules by which you can just create any products or any output of your day-to-day life. So you need to remember on this very well. And in traditional project management, where in the past there we used to create the entire plan end to end. For example, a project will go for 1 year, and the entire project was planned from initially. What will be done in which phases? Basically, in waterfall models, if you see, the entire plan was done from the beginning. The every product components, when it will be delivered, it's planned also. So every plan was done at the beginning. And the disadvantage on this planning the entire project is that at the end, when your product is coming out, it may not be competitive in the market. In the During the projects also, many phases or output of the product may not be relevant in the current demands in the market. So eventually what will happen, this requirement will become irrelevant and obsolete. uh, and also there are problems like if the project owner or the stakeholder wants to engage new requirements on the demand of ongoing markets and all, they cannot employ or inputs in that also, because everything was planned for this kind of projects, and therefore they cannot engage the new request, new um, requirement to the products. So the answer for this all this disadvantage is basically the Scrum. In Scrum, basically the entire product or the requirements is split into different small sprints, and sprint length may be the sprint length may be starting from 1 week to 4 weeks. So from here friends, you can understand the entire any project is basically split into small sprints, and the risk is very low. And here the team size for Scrum is also very less. It starts from 3 to 9 in order to have better control and the coordinations into the team, and also into the sprint work as well. Here in every sprints it goes on in incremental and recurrent way, and in at the end of each sprints there is an increment created. This increment is basically nothing but potentially releasable products which can be released, but it is not necessary that in every sprint the product owner will release this into the market. It depends on the product owner's decisions and the coordination taken between the product owner and the stakeholders. So, my dear friends, I'm not going into details what is Scrum and all. I will mention about what is the Scrum guide and where you can get that to read it, and you will get all those details of Scrum method, Scrum process, and the rules, the different roles of this Scrum. And now let's come to the point number 2, where it is used. This certification is nowadays very essential for those who are working on agile based projects. Okay, and this is not just a certification for managerial or technical people who should adopt this, but anyone involved in any projects or managing any institutions, offices, schools, marketing, research. Almost in every working places it can be used and adopted. So, from the terminology, we often judge that this Scrum only is applicable for technical activities or IT industry and all. But you will be interested and to know that this Scrum can be applied anywhere in real life problems and in real life process to find out the best output out of it. Now, who can appear for the certifications? Anyone can appear for this certification. No degree is required for this certification. So, in this article, I also put some data from the scrum.org manuals. You will get these details from there as well. So here from these definitions, I just wanted to mention one thing. This Scrum is basically based on empirical process. Okay, let me describe what is empiricisms. Empiricisms basically the knowledge that comes from the experience and the making decision based on what is known. So in Scrum, every decisions is taken based on what is known. So we cannot just plan something what is not known, or something we are not aware. So during the sprint planning and all, or during the implementation of such things, we would never adopt something which is not known. We will always go through such things or during the planning or adopting what is only known. And what is, and this known things comes basically from the experience suggests what is already implemented in previous projects or any previous scope. Okay, so this is the one important things I just like to highlight. So the best tips is that you should not memorize these guidelines, but rather you should memorize with the concepts. You need to conceptualize the Scrum guide to adopt the Scrum skills. And my dear friend, just please do not appear this exam to pass it, but rather you should learn it, earn it, and apply into your different projects. So I will go now in a step-by-step process what you need to follow in order to prepare for this certification. So step 1 is read the actual guide at the below link where you can download the PDF version. So I have put it in this manual. This is the official Scrum guide you can download, and the best thing is that if you can print it out and put handy with you, it's the best thing, because this way it will be very handy. You can read anytime, and you can also understand it very well. And this manual is basically developed by the creator Ken Shower and Jeff Sutherland. I would recommend you to read this documents or this manual. This is the only manual and I can say if you read these manuals properly, it is sufficient for the preparations. There are a lot of other online manuals and also in supported with this actual guidelines. They You can find a lot of other directions and the descriptions describing this scrum, but there is chances, this is my personal opinion, that you might get confused at the day end if you read the other manuals and also. But so that's why I would recommend you go through only this guideline by the scrum creator, and this is best thing if you can read twice in a day for at least 10 to 15 days. You can memorize as well as conceptualize the scrum skills. Okay, so once you are confident consecutively reading for a couple of days, you should attend for free assessments from scrum.org. So if you visit the scrum.org, you will get a drop down options to attend three assessments. One is Scrum Open, Product Owner Open, Scrum Developer Open. You should attend all these three online mock-up tests, and you should gain at least 100% every time prior to attending the PSM-1 certifications. Okay, and here the question patterns which I'm not saying exactly will appear into the real certification exams. You will get many answers common from here, but you have to understand the meaning of each questions very properly. You need to look at or observe the while the questions appear during the certification, where it can be used can or maybe. So because of using these two words, the answers will differ. So you need to be very careful while reading the questions. What I found from my experience is that the same questions appeared in the actual certification in a different way. Okay, so you just don't need to memorize the questions, and otherwise there is chances to fail. There is one reference mock-up online mock-up test URL which I found here, which was very also helpful for me. You will get a lot of questions out here. Let me show you. So here if you open this link, here you will get some questions. If you start the quiz from here, you will get to have 80 questions here. Sorry, I can see 87 now. So you can prepare the mock-up test from here. That was pretty good actually. There are other lot of online sites where you can purchase for mock-up test, but which I would not personally recommend because the answers may not comply with the actual answers from scrum.org. So there is no guarantee of actual answers from those site as well. But if you get to have some different quizzes online, free quizzes, basically you can go for that. So once your preparation is done, the last thing is that registration. So don't hurry to do the registration because it is just a 5 minutes process, and this certification costs around 150 USD, and this is if you have just a credit card, it will be done in 5 minutes. Before that, you need to register into scrum.org to create your profile, and once you register for any certification, here you will get a confirmation email with the code, and this code which you need to put while you start the exam. There is no time limit of expiry of this URL. You can attend this exam anytime, but still I would recommend you only register once you feel confident and you feel that you are ready for the exam. Okay, so during the test, I would like to give you some tips as follows. Try to give it in the morning time during the 10 o'clock, because that time your brain used to keep relaxed and refreshed. Do not overthink, because overthinking can make you confused. Keep patience at the same time. Do not waste time for one question for long time. One thing I would like to tell you here, there would be total 80 questions, and out of which you need to correct at least 68 questions. This means you need to acquire 85% in order to pass this exam in 60 minutes time. Here I would like to tell you an important thing. While you are attending for different mock-up test, you will feel very easily could manage the time to complete within 40-45 minutes, even in 30 minutes. But in the actual certification, it seems like you not get much time, and this time is really the big factor here. You may answer many questions, but you may not cope up with the time. So you need to be very careful while attending each and every questions. Even though in this particular exam you need to read carefully every sentence and word, but at the same time you need to keep an eye on your time. If you're feeling that any questions is taking longer time, just please mark it in a paper and just come back later on once every questions are done, and you can just also review your answers later on. But do not press the submit button. Once you submit the button, you will not be able to review any questions further. The next tips is do not try to search answer in Google or anywhere opening a new tab, otherwise your certification will be stopped and you will not be able to attempt anymore. And the other thing is that even if you are not opening, and if you try to search in mobile, in any other devices about the answers, it is a waste of time as well, because you would not get exactly the questions in any sites. This questions you need to analyze and understand the Scrum guide only, and from there the questions will be asked maybe in a different way. So here you need to here it is the importance of understanding the concepts. And the next is there would be multiple answers required for many questions, so it is very crucial that you read every options properly. It may seem to you all answers are right, and it is also the fact that in many cases every question should be correct, but you need to choose the best 3 out of 4 or best 2 out of 4 options. So for this kind of situation, you need to analyze very well for this kind of question answers during your preparation only. Now I would like to go through few questions from the scrum.org to analyze and discuss with you guys. The first question you can see here: the CEO asks the development team to add a very important item to a sprint that is in progress. What should the development team do? So it seems like since he is a CEO and the owner of the company, he can I mean order or for suggestions, and he can manipulate anything apparently, but it is not the case in Scrum. It is strictly prohibited that outside the Scrum roles, no one can interfere inside the program or any project. Even if he is CEO, he needs to connect through the product owner, who is basically the contact point between the stakeholders and outside the team members. Okay, and it should go via the product owner only. So the question answer is the B. Okay, also it seems the other answers, like for example, if you see the last answer, add the item to the next sprint, it is also relevant answer, but it should come through the product owner only. So here the case is the more prior answer is then the last item is product owner. Okay, because here the chances are there, if sometimes a product owner or maybe the project manager or any other organization people are coming every time and giving their inputs to change something within the projects, there is huge chances that the project would get messed up. And in a scrum it is strictly prohibited. Once the sprint planning is done and the sprint work is started, then the product backlog items and new requirements cannot be added or changed. Only the within the sprint, only the development team is responsible for making and updating the change. But once the product from the sprint planning is done and put all the items taken from the product backlog item, it cannot be changed. But to let you know, there's a misconception here. The within the sprint, the development team is solely responsible for estimating, making any change or making subtask out of any items. It is their sole responsibility, because if any work is lengthened, they might feel that it needs to be splitted, so those activities can be done. But this is not a new requirement where CU can involve and can add in the ongoing sprints. Okay, so this is very important, you need to know. And let's go to the next questions here. It is asked, select the three incorrect or misleading statements about the scrum. So this kind of questions is also very confusing. Here you can see, my dear friends, last two options, scrum based in empirical process. So I already described this. Scrum is based on empirical process, and even if you go through the guidelines, you will get this. So this is true. Scrum is a framework that eliminates complexity. This is also true, because Scrum is used to build a complex products. So these are the true. So also Scrum is a framework for developing sustaining complex products. This is also true. So once you find out the true, you will minus it from the whole list, and you will get the wrong answers. So now if you can see, the scrum is a methodology. So as I described, a scrum is not a methodology or defined process. Okay, so this is incorrect. Scrum is like a traditional processes with self organizing to replace the project managers. Okay, so this is also not true, because this is not a traditional processes. Okay, so here you can select this two, but you need to select one more. Okay, uh, so scrum, here you can see, um, okay, I left one, the option C. Each component of scrum serves a specific purpose and essential to scrum success, and uses of scrum to develop complex product. So you can select okay, that is also true actually. Sorry, the first one you have already selected, its methodology, it's incorrect. Then scrum is like traditional is incorrect, you have selected two, and now you need to select one more. uh, okay, so yeah, you can select see, here is a tricky question. So this moment I will not go into this confirming, but probably it seems like the option C. Okay, so let's go to the next questions. Okay, instead of losing time. In this case, sorry guys, I'm also not able to find out the answer, correct answer options from here. So how much work must a development team to do a product backlog item it selects for a sprint? Okay, so here still the priority is, it seems like as much as it gets into the sprint, it is also a fact and correct answer. But before that, there's a more correct answer is, it should go through the product owner. Okay, so product owner will decide, like, I mean, he should be give a directions how much product backlog items should fit into that. Okay. And also after that, the development team will basically select the item from the product backlog into the sprint backlog based on the estimations and the capability the development team feel that they can do, and as per the definition of done. So this is very important. The definition of done is basically creates the potentially releasable product, so it should comply always with the definition of done. So if you are developing any projects and it doesn't have any directions, how does it look like once this product is finished in every out at the end of sprints? So there should have a common understanding what is definition done by the each team members, including the product owner, a scrum master, everyone. Okay, so the right answer is option, last option. The next questions, let us discuss who is responsible for managing the progress of work during a sprint. Okay, so this is the answer is development team. So here, friends, I would like to give you an idea. Any work related to sprint, then it is the sole responsibility by the development team. And any work related to product backlog, for example optimizing the value of the products or rearranging or to create any new products in the product backlog, is sole responsibility by the product owner. The product owner may not sometimes will be able to create some items in the product backlog. That time the development team including the scrum master can assist him in creating that, but the sole responsibility remains with the product owner only. So next question is, the Scrum team should choose at least one high priority process improvement identified during the sprint retrospective and place it in the product backlog. Okay, so this is basically mm, there should be false actually. Uh, uh, so let me explain this one. Okay, as I described you, the product backlog is basically created by the product owner, and the other team members can assist him, helping out to understand the items and put it into the product backlog. Or also scrum master may help the product owner to rearrange the product backlog items. But any process improvement or any work which can be treated as any another work in the sprint, and the development team will only solely responsible for analyzing that and put it into next sprint, but not in the product backlog. Okay, and any process improvement related to the ongoing activities is treated, it cannot be treated as a separate product backlog. Okay, unless it is defined and agreed by the entire team. So the answer is here false. The product backlog is ordered by, still the questions is related to the product owner's suggestions. He only will be deemed, and so the answer is here B. He would actually recommend how the product backlog order item should be ordered. So in the previous questions also I described, the product backlog is basically the skeleton of the projects, and it's never ending, it keeps updating. Okay, and here the product owner is sole responsible ordering, creating the product backlog items. Okay, and he will only order it. The next question, what is required to attend, who is required to attend the daily scrum? So here sometimes we may feel that every team members including the scrum master should attend the call every day, but it is not mandatory because the scrum master roles is actually partial. He may be involved in other projects as well, so it is not a full-time role. The scrum master is not required, or the product owner is not required to attend the daily scrum call, but the development team should or must attend the scrum call every day. The next question is, when the multiple teams work together on the same product, each team should maintain a separate product backlog. My dear friend, this is actually false. The product backlog always should remain same and single, not saying it should be single. So if you if a product maintains a different product backlog for each different teams. The at the end, the product may look different and may not have consistency with what actually stakeholders or the product owner wants to build the product. Okay, so in order to have a consistency, it is strictly ruled in Scrum that it should maintain a single product backlog even if there are multiple teams working on that project. But here just I wanted to add the if each different teams may have their different sprint planning or sprint backlog, but the product backlog will remain single. Next question is, it is mandatory that product increment be released to production at the end of each sprint. So I already discussed this thing. It is not mandatory to release any increment for any particular sprints at the end of each sprints. It is the sole responsible, or I mean the decisions taken by the product owner and the stakeholders whether they feel like it should be released into the market or not. When does a development team members become a sole owner of sprint backlog items? So here is very important questions. In a Scrum, nobody is responsible for a particular items permanently. Everyone is responsible for every items, and if someone is stuck up with some items, the other team members will come forward to help him out to resolve that. So the own something is not an concept in Scrum. Everyone will help each other to grow the projects, grow their value, grow their skills. So this is the main property of Scrum. And last, I would like to show you some focus area. Once you are attending the questions answers, always focus on this category. Okay, so while you are reading the actual guideline, then you need to look at this focus area, because the questions will be arranged as per this category. For example, facilitations done. So while you are reading, put emphasis on what is done. Okay, and there might have some couple of questions under this category. Then leadership styles, self-organizing teams. By seeing the words, I think you understand that what does it refer to. Roles, product backlog management, events, empiricisms, product value, artifacts, coaching and mentoring, forecasting and releasing, planning, stakeholders and customers. So best of luck, my friends. If you go through this manuals and tips, and just comment it here. If you need more information, just please comment in this YouTube video. And if you feel that it needs to describe the manuals in details, I can also help you out on that. So all the best.